Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Wednesday, January 1st, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside will reach a pleasant high of 74.2 degrees today, with a low of 49.3 degrees. Happy New Year! Coming up, we'll examine Chief Justice John Roberts' concerns about threats facing the judiciary and what that means for our legal system. We'll also look at how California's environmental policies have evolved over the past year, as the state dealt with budget constraints and increasing climate challenges. Plus, we'll explore the most anticipated space missions and astronomical events to keep an eye on throughout 2025. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. Our top story this morning focuses on growing concerns about judicial independence in America. Chief Justice John Roberts has issued a stark warning in his year-end report. For more on this, we're joined by our Justice Department correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, what's at the heart of the Chief Justice's message?
Grace, according to reporting from the Associated Press, Chief Justice Roberts has identified three major threats to judicial independence in his annual report released yesterday: intimidation, disinformation, and the potential for public officials to defy court orders. This comes at a particularly concerning time for the federal judiciary.
Can you elaborate on these threats, particularly regarding intimidation?
Certainly. According to U.S. Marshal Service data, we're seeing an alarming trend. Serious threats against federal judges have more than tripled over the past decade. To put that in perspective, these threats jumped from 224 in fiscal 2021 to 457 in fiscal 2023. The Chief Justice specifically mentioned two tragic cases: the murders of state court judges in Wisconsin and Maryland in 2022 and 2023, which he condemned as wholly unacceptable.
That's deeply concerning. How did Roberts frame this historically?
As reported by the Hindustan Times, Roberts drew a powerful historical parallel, referencing King George III's decision to strip colonial judges of their lifetime appointments. He used this to emphasize why judicial independence was so crucial to America's founding principles. He also cited the landmark Brown v. Board of Education decision to illustrate how court rulings must be enforced by other branches of government to maintain the rule of law.
What about the disinformation aspect he mentioned?
According to WRBL News, Roberts expressed particular concern about social media's role in spreading disinformation. He specifically warned about hostile foreign state actors exploiting these platforms to deepen divisions. This is especially significant given that public confidence in the judiciary has hit a historic low of 35%, according to recent Gallup polling.
And his thoughts on public officials potentially defying court orders?
While not naming specific individuals, Roberts criticized elected officials from across the political spectrum who have suggested ignoring federal court rulings. He characterized such attitudes as both inappropriate and dangerous to the fundamental principle of rule of law in our democracy.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Ethan. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops. And now for our second story of the morning. Joining us to discuss California's environmental developments over the past year is our environmental correspondent, Chloe Martinez. Chloe, it seems 2024 was quite a pivotal year for California's environmental initiatives.
That's right, Grace. According to Cal Matters, 2024 brought both victories and challenges for California's environmental landscape. One of the most significant developments was the passage of Proposition 4, a $10 billion environmental bond that voters approved for various initiatives, including drinking water protection and wildfire prevention.
I understand there were some financial adjustments to the state's climate commitments?
Yes, due to budget constraints, the state had to scale back its California Climate Commitment Package from $54.3 billion to $44.6 billion. However, there were still some remarkable achievements, particularly in the energy sector.
Tell us about those energy milestones.
Well, California reached an impressive benchmark by achieving 100 days with 100% carbon-free, renewable electricity for portions of each day. The California Energy Commission also made history by approving plans for the state's first floating offshore wind industry, and Kern County greenlit the state's first carbon capture and burial project.
What about water management? I know that's always a critical issue for California.
According to the Water News Network, there were several significant developments on that front. California joined Arizona and Nevada in agreeing to major Colorado River Basin water cuts. We also saw the $100 million Antioch brackish desalination plant preparing to begin operations. However, there was a setback when a judge blocked the state's first attempt to enforce groundwater overpumping regulations in the San Joaquin Valley.
And looking ahead to 2025, what should Californians be watching for?
Cal Matters reports that Donald Trump's election has raised concerns about federal cooperation on climate initiatives. We're also keeping an eye on potential challenges to California's car and truck emission standards. On a more positive note, major infrastructure projects like the Sites Reservoir and Delta Tunnel are moving forward, and the Klamath River Basin may see salmon recovery following dam removal.
Thank you for that comprehensive update, Chloe. We'll be sure to keep following these developments throughout the year. Here are some other headlines. Ukraine has officially halted the transit of Russian natural gas to Europe following the expiration of a pre-war agreement. The decision, confirmed by both Ukraine's energy minister and Russia's Gazprom, could significantly impact European energy supplies during the winter months. In Puerto Rico, a massive power outage left over 1.3 million residents in the dark on New Year's Eve. The blackout, caused by a suspected fault in an underground power cable, affected nearly the entire island. El Yuma Energy reports only 3% of customers had power restored by December 31st afternoon. In Serbia, New Year's celebrations took an unexpected turn as thousands of protesters chose to march instead of party. The demonstrations, sparked by a tragic train station collapse that killed 15 people, saw protesters carrying red handprint banners and chanting, "We want justice." The city of Cleveland is invoking the model law in response to the Browns' plans to relocate to a new $2.4 billion domed stadium in Brook Park. The law requires professional sports teams using tax-supported facilities to give cities a chance to purchase the team before relocating. In Colorado, the introduction of psychedelic therapy programs has created tension between conservative groups and veterans. The treatment, aimed at addressing PTSD and other mental health issues, has received strong support from veterans while facing resistance from conservative circles. Clinical studies show promising results, particularly in treating veterans' mental health conditions. And now for our final story of the morning. Space enthusiasts have a lot to look forward to in 2025, and joining us to break down the exciting year ahead is our science correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, what can we expect to see in the night sky this year?
Thanks, Grace. We're actually starting the year off with a bang. According to NPR, the Quadrantids meteor shower will peak in just 2 days, on January 3rd. But that's just the beginning. In less than 2 weeks, on January 13th, we'll see what astronomers call an occultation. That's when the moon will pass directly in front of Mars, visible to viewers across the US and eastern Canada.
That sounds fascinating. What other celestial events should people mark on their calendars?
Well, Houston Public Media reports we're in for quite a treat in March with 2 eclipse events. On March 14th, there's a total lunar eclipse visible from the US, and then on March 29th, parts of the northeastern US and eastern Canada will experience a partial solar eclipse, though viewing might be tricky since it occurs at sunrise.
And what about space missions? I understand there are several launches planned?
Absolutely, Grace. This month alone, we're expecting 2 lunar missions. According to space industry reports, both the Blue Ghost Mission 1 and Resilience lunar landers are scheduled to launch. Looking further ahead, SpaceX has ambitious plans for up to 25 Starship launches throughout the year. And on April 20th, just 110 days from now, the Lucy spacecraft will conduct a flyby of an asteroid named Donald Johanson.
I understand there's been some news about the Artemis mission to the moon?
Yes, and it's significant news. The highly anticipated Artemis II mission, which would have been the first crewed mission to the moon since Apollo, has been delayed. It won't launch until at least April 2026, pushing it back several months from its original timeline.
Thank you for that comprehensive update, Ethan. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on the skies this year.
My pleasure, Grace. And for viewers interested in learning more, detailed information about these events and missions can be found in reports from NPR, Houston Public Media, and various space industry publications.
Thanks again, Ethan. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 3.5, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.